After the pretty rocky start we had with Mega Man 1, now we move on to what seems to be the consensus fan favorite in the entirety of the Mega Man Classic series, Mega Man 2 for the NES. Despite the original Mega Man not selling very well, a sequel was still created. However, Mega Man 2 was worked on at the same time as other Capcom projects, with the team using their free time to develop it. Mega Man 2 was originally released in Japan on December 24th, 1988, and was released in North America in June 1989, and the PAL region in December 14th, 1990. And as of now, Mega Man 2 is the best-selling Mega Man game, with more than 1.5 million copies sold according to Wikipedia. As well, Mega Man 2 introduced many things to the series, including Wily's Skull Castle, E-Tanks, and the standard 8 Robot Masters instead of the original game's 6. But how do said Robot Masters, as well as the bosses that lurk inside Wily's fortress, hold up? But before we start, remember, the only weapons allowed to be used against the Robot Masters is the Mega Buster, as if I used their weakness weapons, they'd be reduced to scrap metal in no time. Also, all bosses are fought on the difficult mode of the game. Also, all of the bosses here were fought without E-Tanks, not because I decided not to use them, but because by the time I got to the boss room, I'd have run out. I beat them all without E-Tanks, though I definitely wish I had one for some of them. And finally, remember that this is just my opinion, so if you have to leave a comment telling me why I'm wrong, can you make sure I can actually read it and not just take a shit on your keyboard? But without further ado, the easiest boss in Mega Man 2 is... Number 14, Guts Dozer. Despite being a fortress boss, I find Guts Dozer to be the easiest boss fight in the game. This is because, for one, the all-new and unimproved version of Wily's favorite child's attacks are very easy to dodge. He'll either throw out a bouncing met or spit out a bullet. I've heard which attack he uses is based on whether you're airborne or not, which from what I've seen seems to be true. However, as you can see here, he spits out a bullet while I'm on the ground, which from what I've heard isn't supposed to happen. When he launches out a bouncing met, there's a blind spot just in front of his treads, and you can also shoot the met to get rid of it. The blind spot also works for the bullets, but you can dodge them without it. And even if you do get hit, he only does 4 damage to you with all his attacks, even when he literally runs you over, which I think should do a lot more damage than just 4. But anyway, to hit Guts Dozer, you're gonna need to get up on his treads and hit his head, which is his weak spot. And once you're up there, you'll find out that Guts Dozer either has no invulnerability frames after receiving damage, or he does have invulnerability frames, but they're so short it doesn't make a difference. In fact, let me just show you what I mean. It took only 13 damn seconds for Guts Dozer to bite the dust. And that's not even the fastest you can kill him. Even without using the quick boomerang and just using the Mega Buster, you can still kill him super quickly. So due to the fact that Guts Dozer's attacks are a joke to deal with, and the fact that cotton candy in water lasts longer than him, I rank Guts Dozer as the easiest boss in Mega Man 2. Number 13, Picopico-kun. Oh wow, look at that, another fortress boss at the bottom of the list. So the way that Picopico-kun works is that 2 blocks from the room you're in will move towards each other and form into this little robot here, and they will attack by flying towards you. However, the fight doesn't end when you just beat one, there are actually 14 of them, and the more that are defeated, the faster they move. and they deal 8 damage when they hit you. Which blocks will fuse together to form the little robots is not random, and it will always be the same blocks in the same order. And I found that that order wasn't too hard to memorize. When it comes to actually killing Picopico-kun, I found that the 2 best options are 1, using his weakness weapon, the lead bubble, because it kills those robots in 1 hit. The problem with that is that lead bubble is a piece of shit weapon with no range, which can make it difficult to actually hit the robots. Which is why another strategy is to use the metal blade because, well, it's Mega Man 2. The metal blade can be thrown in 8 directions and has unlimited range, which makes hitting Picopico-kun a hell of a lot easier. And even though he's not weak to the metal blade, it only takes 3 hits from it to kill one of the little machines. So you can just spam out 3 metal blades to kill it. Regardless of which strategy you use, this fight will still be very, very easy. Number 12, Mecha Dragon. God damn it, another fortress boss! So Mecha Dragon is different from the other bosses in Mega Man 2, as before the actual fight starts, there's a small platforming segment where Mecha Dragon chases you. He is invincible while this happens, and if you touch him, you instantly die. It's an auto-scroller segment, by the way, and I did die a bit on the platforming segment, sometimes because I went a little too fast, and others just because I screwed up the jump. But this platforming segment is the only reason that Mecha Dragon is higher than Guts, Dozer, and Picopico-kun. As once you get to the actual fight with Mecha Dragon, you find out that someone who just took a fucking cyanide pill would last longer than him. The only 2 things that make this fight somewhat less pathetic is that 1, Mecha Dragon still kills you instantly if you touch him, and 2, he can knock you off the platform. Mecha Dragon's weakness is the atomic fire, but since atomic fire can only shoot 2 fully charged shots, which isn't enough to take out Mecha Dragon, it's not recommended. One strategy is to use the quick boomerang to take him out quickly, because Mecha Dragon has no invulnerability frames at all. However, I prefer to use the Buster with this strategy, as I can keep at a safer distance. Also, it seems that whenever I used the quick boomerang for this fight, a lot of sprite flickering happened, which can make it really hard to see where I am, which isn't good when you're above a bottomless pit. Also, when a boss dies, you lose all control, so make sure you're above or on a platform when you kill Mecha Dragon. Regardless, Mecha Dragon is still piss easy and deserves a spot near the bottom of the ranking. Number 11, Crash Man. And here we have Crash Man, who was built by Dr. Wily using the designs of both Bomb Man and, of course, because it's Wily, Guts Man. And among the many things he inherited from the 2, one of them was their difficulty, or lack thereof. I'm sure Crash Man wished he inherited working hands instead. So anyway, Crash Man will walk back and forth across the room unless you shoot at him, in which case he will jump up, most likely avoiding your shot, and shoot down a crash bomb, which will explode. And I find it quite funny that both touching the bomb and the bomb's actual explosion do the same amount of damage, which is 4. Touching Crash Man himself will also deal 4 damage. Real effective bombs you got there, buddy. But anyway, the way to beat him is to run, jump, and shoot, so when he jumps up he gets hit, and keep running so the bomb misses. And repeat that strategy until Crash Man dies. So the first robot master on the list, Crash Man, is still very easy. Number 10, Metal Man. Metal Man, because naming him Iron Man would be grounds for a lawsuit. Anyway, the dentist of the future is usually people's first target in this game. One of the reasons for this is that the Metal Man fight is really easy. How the fight works is that Metal Man stays in the corner and will either attack every 4 seconds or when you fire your weapon. When Metal Man attacks, he will jump up and fire 1 to 3 metal blades depending depending on how high he jumped. The metal blades are pretty easy to dodge, and even if you do get hit by them, you only take 3 damage. The fight takes place on a conveyor belt that'll randomly switch directions. I usually like to stay in the left corner of the room when I do this fight, so sometimes when the conveyor belt goes to the right, it can be a little annoying, but overall, it's not that big of a problem. Speaking of, when it comes to this fight, I usually like staying in the left corner and firing at Metal Man from there. Sometimes he'll jump too high or too low to get hit by the Buster Shot, but otherwise it works well. So yeah, I don't really have a lot to say other than Metal Man's easy, and once you beat him, you get the Metal Blade, aka the win button. Number 9, Flashman. And here we have the Robot Master who's weak to Crashman's weapon, Flashman. But, of course, Metal Blades work better because it's Mega Man 2. Of course, for this ranking, what weapon he is weak to does not matter at all because I'm only allowed to use the Mega Buster on him for this ranking. But I digress. Flashman will walk back and forth across the room, however, as you can see here, the floor is jagged. So when Flashman reaches an obstacle that stops him from walking forward, he'll try to jump over it. But if you're behind him when he jumps, he will turn around and face you. To avoid him walking, you'll have to jump over him, which is really easy, though the slippery floor can mess you up. So if you do end up getting hit by him walking, you will only take 4 damage, so it's not that bad. Sometimes Flashman will stop in place and decide,
it's time to stop! Time! Come on,
Depending on where you are, it can be a bit more difficult to dodge this attack, but I found a good way to dodge it is to just jump. Of course, if you do end up getting hit by the bullets, you will take 2 damage, so the attack isn't very punishing. And sometimes Flashman will just get Stormtrooper's disease and miss. So it makes easy to avoid attacks with those attacks not dealing a lot of damage, and you have a very easy boss. Number 8, Bubble Man. So, can someone tell me why Mega Man has air bubbles when underwater, despite the fact he's a robot and doesn't need to breathe? I gotta say, that's real weird. But anyway, about the fight with Bubble Man. So the first thing you'll notice is that this fight is underwater, which means you can jump much higher. But don't jump too high or damn it! Or else you'll hit your head onto spikes and die. How Bubble Man works is that when he attacks, he shoots 1 to 3 bubbles and then swims up. When Bubble Man is swimming, if you're at the same height as him, he will start shooting you with his arm cannon. Sometimes this can be annoying to avoid, especially if he starts firing directly as he leaves the ground, but it only does 2 damage, so it's not that bad. The bubbles, however, will do 4 damage. Speaking of, when Bubble Man shoots a bubble, it will bounce off the floor until it reaches the wall. To avoid the bouncing bubbles, you just have to move under it when they bounce up, which is pretty easy to do, unless he's firing his arm cannon, which can make it pretty difficult to not get hit. There are 2 really good times to attack Bubble Man in this fight, when he's throwing out his bubbles and when he finishes attacking. When Bubble Man fires a bubble, there's a bit of a delay before he fires the next one, so use it to attack him. When Bubble Man stops attacking, he floats down pretty slowly, which leaves him wide open to some Buster Lemons. He may shoot at you as he floats down, but it shouldn't be too hard to avoid. So yeah, Bubble Man's attacks can be annoying to dodge, but they aren't very punishing if you get hit by them, and Bubble Man leaves himself wide open after attacking. So yeah, Bubble Man's a pretty easy boss. Number 7, Woodman. So, funny story, the segment you're watching right now about Woodman was made last, and that's because I couldn't really think of anything to say to get this part started. But now I was able to think of something to get this part started, and that was how about I couldn't think of anything to get this part started. Funny how that works, isn't it? Anyway, Woodman is another really easy boss. When Woodman attacks, he will start by putting up his leaf shield, which makes him immune to your attacks. You can shoot through the shield if you're close enough, but I don't really recommend it. This is because being so close to Woodman makes it harder to dodge when he throws his leaf shield at you. If you're farther away from Woodman, though, the leaf shield is very easy to dodge. If you do end up getting hit by it, though, you'll take 6 damage. But before Woodman throws his leaf shield, he will shoot 4 leaves up into the air that will fall down in a zigzag pattern. They do 4 damage if you get hit by them, and to dodge them, I found a really good way to do it is to go to the left corner of the room and jump at the right time to avoid the leftmost leaf. After Woodman throws his leaf shield, he will jump forwards in your direction, after which Woodman is vulnerable to attack long enough to get some pretty good damage in. I find the best way to beat this fight for me is to stay in the left corner and shoot at Woodman from there, as in the left corner I can 1. Easily jump over the leaf shield, and 2, as I said before, the best way to dodge the falling leaves is stay in the left corner and jump at the right time to dodge the leftmost leaf. In conclusion, despite being halfway through the ranking, Woodman is still an easy boss. Number 6, Airman. You know, this fight really blows, just like Airman, as one of the main mechanics of the fight is Airman blowing you to one side of the room, depending on which side he's on, and you most likely won't be able to hit him from the other side of the arena, as the tornado projectiles he shoots will block your attacks. Speaking of, when Airman attacks, he will shoot 6 tornadoes in a randomly chosen pattern 3 times. Most of these patterns are easy to dodge, except for the ones that are literally impossible to dodge. Yeah, sometimes the Airman just decides you take damage. You will only take 4 damage if you get hit by a tornado, but the fact that some of his attacks can be undodgeable is still bullshit. Only one of his tornado patterns is undodgeable, though there is another tornado pattern he has that I really struggle with dodging it. But anyway, the strategy I usually use is to just jump over his first set of attacks, then non-stop fire at him until he dies. And the strategy is especially effective as Airman will take 2 damage from the Mega Buster rather than 1. But it isn't the only strategy that'll work when defeating Airman. But anyway, despite what many people will say, it is in fact possible for you to beat Airman. Number 5, the Alien. So this is a really weird fight. When the fight starts, Dr. Wily comes out of his saucer and is like, "Ah, that's right, Megaman, I'm actually a space alien." And none of your weapons work, so Megaman's like, "Bubble attack, bubble attack, bubble attack." And then it turns out that the alien was actually just a hologram that the bubbles managed to short out, even though I'm pretty sure the metal blade could just cut that thing in half. But anyway, about the actual fight. Alien Wily attacks by flying in a horizontal figure 8 pattern and occasionally shooting bullets that are aimed at you. These bullets deal 6 damage, however they are pretty easy to jump or walk away from depending on where you are. Also, don't touch the alien, it fucking hurts.
That's a lot of damage!
If you weren't only allowed to use Bubble Lead for this battle, he would definitely join Gutsdozer, Picopico-kun, and Mecha Dragon as the bottom of the barrel piss easy garbage, but because Lead Bubble is the only weapon that can damage the alien, he lands here. I remember what I said about Lead Bubble back in the Picopico-kun segment? Piece of shit weapon with no range. Yeah, due to Lead Bubble's low range, you can only hit the alien when he's lowest to the ground. As well, it only does like 1 damage to the alien when you hit him with it, so you only can deal so much damage when he lowers enough to the ground where you can hit him. Regardless, the alien's attacks are still easy to dodge once you get the hang of it, and it is still an easy fight. Just not as pathetic as the bosses I talked about before it, though you definitely expect more from a final boss. Number 4, Heatman.
Hang up. Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give him. Okay.
They're the same picture.
Anyway, Heatman will always start the fight by shooting 3 bullets that when they touch the ground will turn into flame pillars. To avoid it, you should walk forward and jump over the last one. And if you're fast enough, his first flame pillar attack will be his last. This is because after getting hit, Heatman will set himself on fire, becoming invincible. And then he'll use his charge attack after a random amount of time. Sometimes basically immediately after getting hit, and sometimes he'll wait a bit longer. So you definitely want to have some good reflexes. If you get hit by the charge, you'll take 8 damage, so you're gonna want to avoid it. To do so, you're gonna have to jump over it. And sometimes when fighting Heatman, I found out he would stop his charge right before I was about to land, so I fall on him and take damage. I figured out that when Heatman charges, he goes to where your position was right as soon as he started the charge. And since I usually like to back away from Heatman when he starts his charge so I can get a better shot of jumping over it, I end up trying to jump over it only to land directly on Heatman. Once I got the hang of this, Heatman became pretty easy. And if you shoot him fast enough after each charge, he won't have a chance to use his flame pillar attack. Which is good because that attack may be bothersome to dodge again, as it'll be in a different pattern, though it only does 4 damage, so it's not very punishing. But in conclusion, even though we're pretty far up the list at this point, Heatman is still pretty easy. Number 3, Boo Beam Trap. Holy mother of the father of the father of the mother of Lord Jesus, I hate this fight! It may just be the worst fight in the entirety of the classic series. But I'm getting out of myself. Anyway, let me tell you why the fight sucks, starting with the most apparent thing, the sprite flickering. Sprite flickering is a pretty big problem for the NES Mega Man games as a whole, and it is especially apparent in this fight. And sometimes it gets so bad that Mega Man and other sprites just straight up turn invisible. So sometimes you can't even see where you are. What fucking fun. To defeat the Boo Beam Trap, you need to destroy the 5 cannons in the room. The problem? The cannons are immune to all weapons except for one, the Crash Bomb. However, some of the cannons are protected by barriers that can also only be destroyed with Crash Bombs. And at full ammo, you only have 7 Crash Bombs. And the minimal amount of shots you're gonna need to destroy the Boo Beam Trap is 6. However, to do that, you're gonna need to destroy the topmost cannon and leftmost wall with 1 shot, which is difficult, so most people are gonna require 7 bombs to beat the boss. So basically, if you miss once, 9 times out of 10, you're fucked and have to let yourself die. And let's not forget the nippleless wall titties also shoot at you. They only do 4 damage, but there's no reliable way to dodge it, so sometimes you basically have to get hit. Sometimes the shots will also make you fall down, and that makes you waste time, which is pretty valuable in this fight, because as I said, with no reliable way to dodge the shots, you're basically on a timer. Though there are times where you get lucky and the shots miss. Anyway, in conclusion, I consider Boo Beam Trap to be the first boss on the ranking that I can call difficult, even if it is difficult for all the wrong reasons. Fun fact about Quickman, his icon in the stage select menu is actually different from the other Robot Masters. As well, all the other Robot Masters mugshots are completely within their icons. Quickman's head crest is actually outside of his icon. According to the Mega Man knowledge base, this is to distinguish Quickman as explicitly difficult compared to the other Robot Masters. So apparently when making Quickman and they want to make him harder than all the other robot masters in the game. And they succeeded, as quite frankly, Quickman is a bitch to fight. When Quickman attacks, he will jump 3 times, and at the top of his second jump, he shoots 3 quick boomerangs at you. However, after Quickman fires his quick boomerangs, they will stop moving after a while, and then shoot towards you. As well, after his third jump, he will attempt to... When Quickman charges at you, he does it at a very high speed. I mean, he has quick in his name after all. So it's already pretty hard to dodge Quickman's charge when you're on level footing with him. But if Quickman has the high ground when he starts his charge, it is incredibly hard to jump over him. So either way, you're most likely gonna get hit by his charge attack. His boomerang attack is also pretty hard to dodge. As I said before, Quickman will always shoot the quick boomerangs at the top of his second jump. However, due to a glitch, the first jump might not happen. So there's a bit of unpredictability when he will shoot the quick boomerangs. And as well, as I said before, after they are fired, they will stop moving after a while and then shoot towards you, which makes them pretty hard to dodge and can also complicate you trying to dodge Quickman's charge. While Quickman's quick boomerangs and his charge both do 4 damage, they are both really hard to dodge, so the damage is gonna add up quite quickly. In terms of damaging Quickman, while he does take 2 damage from the Mega Buster, I found that he moves around the arena so much and so rapidly that he's actually pretty hard to hit. So yeah, add hard to dodge attacks with it being difficult to actually hit him, and you find out that Quickman is not an easy boss. Number 1, Wily Machine number 2. So, why do I think Wily Machine number 2 is the most difficult boss in the game? Well, first off, Wily Machine number 2, just like Wily Machine number 1 in the last game, is the only boss in the game to have 2 phases. And just like Wily Machine number 1, there is a separate health bar for both phases. As well, Wily Machine number 2's second phase is only weak to crash bombs, which you probably don't have any left due to the fight with Boo Beam Trap. If you do have 1 crash bomb left over after the Boo Beam Trap fight, however, you can actually kill the Wily Machine number 2's second phase in 1 hit, or at the very least do some good damage. However, 1, when I first fought the Wily Machine number 2 on difficult mode, I didn't have any crash bombs remaining, and 2, the trick you need to do to defeat the Boo Beam Trap with 1 crash bomb left over is difficult, so you probably don't have any crash bombs left for Wily Machine number 2. Though if you do have a crash bomb in stock, this fight becomes a lot easier. But in the case that you don't have any crash bombs remaining, well, you're going to fucking die. In the first phase, Wily Machine number 2 goes back and forth while shooting energy shots that first go down and then curve upwards. If you get hit by these shots, they do 6 damage and can be hard to avoid, especially while trying to actually hit the Wily Machine number 2. Also, avoid touching the Wily Machine number 2, otherwise...
I don't care what universe you're from, that guy hurt.
So for the Wily Machine number 2's first phase, its attacks do a lot of damage and are pretty troublesome to avoid. Wily Machine number 2 doesn't have any invincibility frames like some of the other Fortress bosses in this game. However, to be able to reach the Wily Machine number 1's weak point, you'll usually have to jump. Which for one, means you can't just gun it down as easily as you could Mecha Dragon or Guts Dozer, and 2, by jumping you may leave yourself open to get hit. Wily Machine number 2's first phase is very weak to atomic fire, being killed in 2 fully charged shots. Though if you use atomic fire against Woodman in the boss rush, then you can't use it here. As well, atomic fire takes a long time to charge up fully, though it is still a good option. So yeah, the first phase of the Wily Machine number 2 is difficult, but it wouldn't be number 1 if it wasn't for phase 2. And that's because the phase 2 attacks are literally undodgeable. And that's not hyperbole. Just look up any Buster only no-hit videos of the Wily Machine number 2, and you'll see they use a crash bomb because his second phase attacks are undodgeable. So my strategy for this phase is to use the Mega Buster or Metal Blades and spam out as many attacks as I can against the Wily Machine number 2 to kill it before it kills me. Though for this to be possible, I found that I have to beat the first phase without getting hit more than once. So to beat this boss, you have to beat the first phase near fucking perfectly. And even then, there's still a possibility of losing at the second phase. I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with me placing Wily Machine number 2 at the top. And that's because, as I said before, crash bombs can kill the second phase in one hit, which is where most of my difficulty of the fight stemmed from. However, as I said before, beating Boo Beam Trap with only 6 crash bombs is difficult to do, and I didn't have any crash bombs left after that fight in my difficult mode playthrough. But regardless, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and my opinion is, fuck the Wily Machine number 2! And with that is the end of the Mega Man 2 boss ranking. For every game I've done a boss ranking on so far, I think on average Mega Man 2 has the easiest boss fights. Of course, I've only done 3 boss rankings so far, so that could be subject to change, but I'm not really so sure about how likely that is. Also, I'm sorry if this video came off as a bit uninteresting due to how easy most of the boss fights were. Also, you may have noticed I put in a lot more editing than my previous boss ranking videos. Tell me if you enjoyed the editing in the comments. Personally, I liked how it came out, though I do worry if it could come off as a bit too different compared to my other boss ranking videos. Also, due to school starting up again soon, I think it's gonna take quite a bit longer for me to make my videos. Of course, I will still be uploading, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like? And if you enjoy the other content on my channel, why not subscribe and turn on notifications? But anyway, remember, Metal Blade is OP as fuck, and see you on the next video.